Carson Whisenhunt is a name that I think a lot of Giants fans have circled. One of the reasons why they didn't really think that they were going to see him this year is because of the fact that Roop and Birdsong and then now Harrison were all up with the club. And it's like, okay, then, Whisenhunt, now he can pitch, most of the season in AAA, and then you bring him up late. Is it, do you see him with the club, or how do you think the Giants view him, or do they want him to just stay in AAA and look towards next year, maybe when someone like Verlander or Robbie Ray's future isn't as set in stone? Like, what do you think about Carson Whisenhunt?
So I think he's a 2025 player for them, right? He's thrown like almost 200 innings in AAA at this point, which is a lot. And he's pitched pretty well at AAA this year, which he did not last year.
Right.
I am like a moderate Carson Whisenhunt fan. I liked him out of the draft as a player. There were makeup reasons he fell to the Giants in the 2022 draft. And I forget,
makeup reasons, huh?
I forget how much they have been publicly reported on, which is why I said generic makeup reasons. So let's do
the failing of steroid
let's
test.
do the 5 second. Yeah, let's do the 5. Yeah, failed drug test. Okay, that's failed PED test. So that's public. So I can comment on. Yeah, he flunked the drug test in college. And he fell to the Giants in the second round. He was generally considered a first round talent. He kind of had a blowaway 2023 season, and amid some injuries, then he wasn't as good in 2024 at AAA. AAA is weird right now because of rules they have put in place, both to make it more like the major leagues from an equipment and umpiring standard, but they've also used it as a testing ground for the automatic strike zone. Which has made some things kind of screwy in terms of analyzing player results, because it's also kind of just a high end run environment. AAA has been that recently, both in the PCL and increasingly in the International League. But the Giants are in the PCL. They've always been in the PCL, and their AAA park is. It's a hitter-friendly park in a hitter-friendly league, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pitchers don't always perform well in the Giants' farm system once they, really at several minor league levels, actually, San Jose and A-ball is.
Unless your name is Tim Lincecum and Madison Bumgarner, you don't usually just blast through them.
And Sacramento, which they are sharing with the A's, is, it's the PCL, and it's not a super pitcher-friendly park within the PCL either. And you also throw in the general things that are causing the run environment there. So Whisenhunt's got a really great changeup. That's his bread and butter pitch. He throws it almost 40% of the time. He throws it almost as much as he throws his fastball. It's a really great pitch shape. It's a really nice changeup. It gets a lot of swings and misses. It gets a lot of chases out of the strike zone. That is his best pitch by 4 scouting grades, probably. He has a borderline plus changeup, and he has nothing else, which is clearly even average. Like, he has kind of a generic, not great fastball. Like, he throws in the low 90s up to the mid 90s. His fastball shape is bad. Hitters make a lot of contact against it. It's like, so from that perspective, you're almost thinking like this is like a crafty lefty changeup heavy profile. Like, this has been that's kind of true. And the crafty lefties of our childhoods through like 86, and now we're saying crafty lefty for a guy who like averages 93 and hits 96. All right, so that's a crafty lefty is now like 92 to 94, right? Which is weird, but it's also true. He would really be helped if he found a consistent and better breaking ball, which is a tough thing to do. The below average fastball traits, changeup heavy profile is not a cohort that I like a ton, because if there's any degradation within the changeup quality at the major league level, you have nothing else to fall back on. So
Right.
it's almost like a binary yes, no. Is this changeup going to just fool guys at the major league level? And it's very hard to tell that until you see the pitcher at the major league level. In some ways, that's also like what Kyle Harrison's been struggling with over the last couple of years, right? So there was kind of a struggle there to find a consistent breaking ball that he would be able to get swings and
I
misses.
mean, he still doesn't have it. He was
Right,
still
exactly.
struggling with it.
Right. So that you might see some of those similar issues for Whisenhunt when he comes up, or he might just find the right breaking ball at some point, or his changeup might be so good that it doesn't matter. So I think there's a pretty big delta there on where he ends up being, but I absolutely would expect to see him at some point this season based on how good he's throwing in AAA, based on how long he's been at AAA. He certainly passed any organizational benchmark for innings that they might have set that they want for a guy in the high minors. So I think he is probably, especially with Harrison no longer in the organization, I think he's probably a near-term pitching option. His existence is probably one of the reasons they were comfortable moving Harrison in this deal, because he is in broad strokes a fairly similar pitcher to Harrison, or projects to be a fairly similar pitcher to Harrison. So you can trade some out of your organizational depth there. He is not as good of a prospect as Harrison was a couple of years ago, but based on where Harrison had been trending, he's more similar to that. I assume he's going to be a candidate for our midseason top 50. I don't think he's going to make it. We're putting out our next list in about a month, probably during the All-Star break. It's usually when we put him out. I don't think he's going to make it, but we haven't broken it out enough to know. He's at least somebody. He will at least be. We already have a long list of like 150 players. He's definitely on the long list. So he's maybe. Right now, he's maybe trending towards like a back of the, second half of the top 100 type pitching prospect, which very clearly makes him the second best prospect in the system.
Right.
Assuming you're not totally in on the Jaguar hype after 15 games in the complex, which, that one's going to take a little time for me to actually work out. But, he's. I expect to see him in the majors this year. I expect if he is in the majors, probably a median outcome would look a lot like Kyle Harrison's last 2 years. But there's definitely some significant upside. He has one of the best changeups in the entire minor leagues, and sometimes the guys who have one really high-end trait can end up significantly overperforming once they get to the majors, because if his changeup continues to perform like it has in the minors, he won't need anything else because it's that good of a pitch in the minors. But major league hitters are much better at laying off changeups than minor league hitters. That's why they're major league hitters.